Oh, we're going.
The offseason's over. The preseason's over. It's game week. Let's go!
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Welcome into a live game week edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, our partners in possible here at KC Sports Network, member FDIC. I'm Kent Swanson. I am beyond thrilled to be hanging out with Matthew Lane tonight. Matthew, happy game week. How we doing?
Listen, I'm good for multiple reasons. 1, game week. Chiefs play later. 2, Chiefs are about to go 1-0 this week. 3, Patrick Mahomes takes the field. 4, college football is in full swing. And 5, I am now distracted from watching DJU absolutely just poop himself all over a football field against Boston College. So this is a great time to be on here doing this lab.
I am so beyond excited for today, for this week. I think maybe just because of everything that this team has done for us, in the last couple years. And you know what? Like, I'm not going to say we take it for granted, but I think emotionally it's a little bit more challenging to navigate and not, I think I'm still excited, but it took a little longer to get the juices flowing a little bit, to get a little bit, really excited for the first game of the season, where normally it's like, butterflies in the stomach all the time, for a couple weeks leading up, and just like itching for the preseason to be over. Kind of snuck up on me a little bit differently this time around. I think it's just because this team's done so much winning. But now that it's officially game week, we've got, reports on who's playing, who's in, who's out. We've got, quotes from Roquan Smith. We've got all kinds of stuff. It's back. I'm back in full swing. I'm all there now, and I can't wait. So I'm really looking forward to this. Maddie, how was your Labor Day weekend, though, before we get into this? Anything good?
I mean, it was a great weekend full of college football watching and cleaning the house and trying to prepare food, because I'm about to leave my wife with 3 children for next weekend to go watch the Chiefs play with my good pals back in Kansas City. And, to be around, I don't know, let's call it the golf tournament that we like to put on, Kent.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the KCSN golf tournament is on Saturday. There are still a few spots available if you would like to get a last-second team entry into this incredible tournament that we put on here. If we do say so ourselves, Mission Taco is going to be out there handing out tacos. Holiday Distillery will have several tents on the golf course. We have brisket from Batch Elder Farms being donated and will be smoked, and we'll be out there for some delicious brisket sandwiches. That's going to be out there. It's going to be a great time. So there's a link in the description of this show if you want to try to sign a team up. There are still some spots available. You do not want to miss out on this opportunity on Saturday, September 7th out at Sunflower Hills Golf Course. We're also doing a pre-tourney benefit raffle. 5 tickets for 20, 15 tickets for 40, 40 tickets for 100. And what are you potentially winning? Well, a Patrick Mahomes signed mini helmet. Also, a potential that you'll get 2 tickets to any Chiefs home game of your choosing and 1 night at the Westin in Kansas City. So we have all kinds of great prizes out there, and you don't have to be present to win. So please consider donating, trying to be part of that raffle as well, because we got a lot of great prizes out there for you. And by the way, Maddie and I will be doing the KCSN post-game show from the KCSN studio after the Chiefs beat the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday. Tucker D. Franklin will also be there. Tuck, are we allowed to announce who else is going to be on?
I think so.
We're really excited to have Jeff Schwartz on with us on Thursday as well. So he will be participating in the post-game show. I believe he'll be on for multiple post games this year. We're looking forward to that. So I'm really excited to get Jeff's perspective immediately after the game. So looking forward to have Jeff Schwartz on the KCSN post game show with us. All right, let's get into the show, Matthew. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Yeah, there's a few things getting on here. Big news of the day: Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been placed on the NFI list, the non-football injury list. this is stemming from him, dealing with some post-traumatic stress from some pretty traumatic stuff that he's been through in his short life. I mean, he was part of attempted robbery that resulted in the death of the person trying to rob him and a friend. Also, he went through, he went through the shooting, with the Super Bowl parade, which escapes me sometimes here or there as well. He's been through some stuff here in the last few years of his life, and he will not be available for the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and if we go back and kind of, first of all, like we hope everything is going well for Clyde. You hope that he is getting, the help he needs, getting into the mental, physical space that he needs to be outside of football before we even, start to talk about or contemplate like what that means for the Chiefs on the field or anything like that. So like that goes first and foremost without really saying too much about, but on the field and stuff, like you got the sense when Andy Reid talked about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, when Brett Veach talked about Clyde this offseason, they just, not that they didn't know what was going on, but they were very unsure at how the season was going to play out with him. And it got to the point where I know a lot of people were wondering if he was going to be cut because he wasn't able to play. Was he going to go on the IR before the season started? Like there's all these different things. And I think there was just some uncertainty among the people that are making all these roster decisions and stuff like that of what he's going to be able to bring to the team this year. So that's why you see this team going out there and making sure they keep an undrafted free agent like Carson Steele on the roster. Why you see this team going out and signing Samaje Perine when he is waived from the Denver Broncos. That's why you see them trying to keep some running backs on their practice squad, because I don't think they have a stable timeline or realistic expectations or real expectations that they believe in for what and when to expect Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be back on the football field. That's completely okay because he's got a lot of his own stuff going on that should come before football. But I don't think there's much of a surprise. I think we've been trending this way for a while.
I do too. I'm not surprised that this move was made. I was kind of fascinated, honestly. I think it was kind of wondering, when it was going to happen. It kind of seemed like there was some stuff trending in that direction. And I think it's in the best interest of Clyde Edwards-Helaire for that to happen too. It's been a month or so since, the news kind of came out that he was struggling with this. And man, like I can't even imagine, some of the stuff that he's been through. You hear about it and the idea of living through that is a lot to take in. So the absolute best of luck for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I hope he can find peace with some of the stuff he's struggling with and dealing with. And I think I'm glad the Chiefs have taken the approach that they have. They are going to continue to support him. Sounds like some players on the NFI list do have the option to the team has some flexibility with how they are or what they're allowed to pay or are not allowed to pay those players. So they can, if they wanted to, they couldn't pay Clyde Edwards-Helaire a salary. The Chiefs are going to continue to support him by paying that, which is a really good move by them. So I'm glad the Chiefs are supporting him in a way that he needs to be supported. And I hope he finds the help he needs and finds the peace he needs to continue his NFL career if he wants to. So, yeah, a lot of love to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think when, so he's roster spot's now open. We can talk about that here in a little bit, but yeah, he does go on the NFI list for now. Kind of stemming from that, I think becomes the football conversation, right? And I think that's where, we want to talk a little bit about this is, the Chiefs now have 3 running backs on their active roster: Isaiah Pacheco, Carson Steele. And I know he gets labeled as a fullback, but he's a running back, guys. He's a running back. He's not just a fullback. I don't like that. I don't like that we're calling him a fullback. He's a running back. And then we get Samaje Perine in the mix as well. So you've got 3 running backs on the roster, and it's going to be fascinating to see how these kind of roles play out, right? Isaiah Pacheco, I think, obviously he's going to be the lead back. How much do you think that the other 2 players kind of eat into his role in 2024, though?
Okay. Pacheco's still going to be the lead back. I think it's going to be pretty clear that he is still this team's running back 1. I do think, however, that when I think fantasy football, Twitter, fantasy people that are deep into fantasy football have kind of been talking about this since the Samaje Perine news has kind of come down, since that signing has been done. There has been some panic, I think, in fantasy circles about what that means for Isaiah Pacheco going forward. And ultimately, like by the end of the year, I can definitely see there being a substantial loss of workload or just usage from Pacheco, because you have to consider, assuming everyone stays healthy, Perine is probably kind of set to get the majority of the third down reps, right? And the way the Chiefs operate in the red zone, a lot of plays kind of become more of your third down package from the red zone. It's not always, you don't treat every first down in the red zone, the Chiefs don't, as it's 1st and 10. They get into some different, personnel packages and stuff. They really like to use Jerick McKinnon as a receiving weapon in the red zone. It's easier to send some heavy pressure because you don't have to have two safeties playing so far back off the ball when the condensed spaces. So I could definitely see an avenue to where, as the year goes along, those third down reps, some of those red zone reps, not like inside the 5 or anything, but some of just inside the 20, those things start to slant a little bit more towards Perine, and he actually kind of eats away at a little bit of Pacheco's workload that we thought coming into the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Samaje Perine, and I think Andy Reid's kind of talked a little bit about him as a player, and it's like he's a third down back, but he has a little bit more juice than just being a third down player. And like, I love Jerick McKinnon. Like, I'm a huge Jerick McKinnon fan. I've always have been. Like, I think he should be here just for the vibes a little bit, even just like, I think I think some of the coaches have even made comments that Jerick McKinnon is going to be a great coach someday if he wants to do that. But this team really, they didn't use Jerick McKinnon all that much. They didn't use Clyde Edwards all that much down the stretch, in the run game, in the pass game either, right? Like, those were two guys that really didn't get to see a ton of run. And I think this definitely is an opportunity to help keep Isaiah Pacheco, fresh for the stretch of the year, because they leaned on him heavily during the postseason, but also gives them some more diversity of options at their disposal, right? And I think both Carson Steele and Samaje Perine are both guys that have the ability to be outstanding pass protectors. I think Carson Steele could be a guy that you give the ball a little bit to in a goal line situation or a 4th and 1 type situation. So like, I do think there are some scenarios and some specific, opportunities that these two running backs can eat into what you get out of Isaiah Pacheco. And that's something I'm going to be paying attention to. I will say something that's really cool for this. Carson Steele getting to learn from Samaje Perine too, I think could be valuable for him as well, right? Just because these are both bigger bodied backs. Carson Steele's kind of wanting to hang his hat on some of the things that Samaje Perine has done well in his NFL career. Samaje Perine wants to be a guy that's going to, contribute in any way he can. It's the same kind of, thing for Carson Steele. These are both two guys that are kind of playing that role. So I think that could be a good value for them as well.
Yeah. And I think there's definitely like a leadership, I can pass some of this stuff on down to another guy aspect to it. And I want to be very clear too. I think Isaiah Pacheco is still like clearly this team's top running back. I think he's going to get a lot of work. And from what we've seen of him this preseason, it's, I don't want to jump the gun here, but he looks a little lighter. He does look thinner. I know that report came out, and I think he looks quicker. Now, maybe he's just worked on not running like an angry emu so much. Like, he seems to be stomping the ground a little bit less aggressively now. He seems a little lighter on his feet, and maybe that's just the loss of weight. Maybe he's worked on his running gait, and I think that'll probably help him get to top speed a little faster, because he is a guy that does need to be at top speed to really break some tackles. If not, he kind of goes down on first contact a little easier. So if some of these things improve, if he is a little bit quicker, gets through the holes, gets through his reads and stuff faster, he could actually still have a more productive, a more efficient year than he has at any point in time in his career. I just think that you were looking at this roster when it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Deneric Prince and Carson Steele fighting for that running back 2 spot. You felt really good about Isaiah Pacheco being just like this bell cow. He's going to get 1 million touches in this offense. And like, in this offense, that's going to be productive. Now I think there's definitely going to be a split with Samaje Perine having a very clear role. And then the Carson Steele part, that's what's up in the air. I think you're probably looking at him as more of a fullback this year because of the other pieces they have, maybe a short yardage back, a guy that comes in and just maybe only eats a few snaps so guys need rest. So I don't know if he's going to play a major role this year, except for in like short yardage, maybe not even goal line, just short yardage situations. But still, it's worth noting that that's it. That's the only 3 guys they have, with the Carson Steele not playing a lot. That's still a lot of Pacheco snaps.
Yeah, I think Carson Steele gets a little bit more time to develop, right? And I think that's what when you were looking at the roster construction, where it was Deneric Prince, and Carson Steele was better than Deneric Prince, very obviously, because he's still here and Deneric Prince is not. But I think you're looking at that group going, okay, you've got a young rookie that has flashed tremendously in the preseason, but's unproven. And now what you've done is you've stabilized that room with a veteran with Samaje Perine. So now you've got, two guys that know how to do this, that have done it in high leverage situations at your running back spot, and also takes a little pressure off of Carson Steele. That being said, he's going to be active on game day. I think Carson Steele is going to be active on game day. He might even be a guy that gets, some looks in the return game, in the kick return game. Some people, Dave Tobe, I believe, bringing it up, that Carson Steele will be, a candidate to be involved in the kick return game. And when you're looking at some of the new rules and stuff and how this shakes out, having a bigger body guy, and he looked good in the limited opportunities that we saw him returning kicks in the preseason as well. So I think special teams will be a more valuable role for him, or a more impactful role for what Carson Steele is going to get an opportunity to do. And it could extend beyond just, blocking, tackling. It could be, some returns too. So I'm glad Carson Steele's here. I'm glad he's on the roster, and I think he's a guy that can contribute down the road. But I think he might be a little bit wedged out of these opportunities that could happen within this offense. And I think that's okay for both sides, for Carson Steele's development and for the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think they'll all be active. They'll all get some usage in what they do. It's just, I do think later in the year, like Samaje Perine is going to have a very substantial role for this team. And if you are looking at it from just a fantasy perspective, and I know that's not exactly what we're doing now, I think that he is going to definitely impact what Isaiah Pacheco's overall value or impact can be for a fantasy team. Now, on the actual field, I like the two as a 1-2 punch. I think you get Pacheco out of having to do the stuff that he has struggled with the most in the NFL. He's been one of the least efficient pass protecting running backs in the NFL, right? And so you take him out of that role, you give it to somebody else. This is a good step forward for the team overall, and that way they don't have to rush Carson Steele right out there.
Yeah, and hopefully he continues to develop, and because I'm excited about this kid, man. I don't squelch the enthusiasm at all. I'm definitely all in on this kid. I just think it's always good to be able to take a little bit more pressure off of a rookie like this. It's still a 21-year-old rookie, so we'll see what kind of role that Carson Steele has. Ultimately, I think that's kind of how these things shake up in the running back room when we see this team at full strength. I don't know. I'm interesting to see what Samaje Perine's week 1 role is. It kind of feels like they're going to be able to throw him out there. He said he's getting a little bit more comfortable every single day. And, this is a guy that's been around the block a few times, so I think you can kind of tell him screen concept, even if he doesn't know the entirety of the play call, and be able to execute it. He's got a pretty good understanding of protections for sure, too. Do you think the training wheels are entirely off for Samaje Perine? Do you think he's just kind of in the full reveal of the role, or do you think Carson still gets some more run this week just because of that?
I think it's the Perine thing. I think I saw a tweet, and I don't have it pulled up now, so I'm probably going to butcher it, but the gist of it from Mitchell Schwartz was the way the Chiefs do their pass protection rules make it not easy, but will make it for where a smart player who's used to pass protection rules and understanding them should be able to come in and understand it pretty quickly. So he's thinking Perine would be okay from that perspective. And then he said, and this is true, this is what we have seen, worst case scenario, Mahomes just tells him who to block every play, and he can go do it. And we've seen that. Like Patrick Mahomes gets up there and he's calling defensive fronts. We've seen him tell running backs, tight ends, whoever, who to chip, who to block. Like that is something that is 100% within the mental capacity of Mahomes to do. So I would expect the Chiefs to put the guy they think is the best pass protector out there. You would rather have to tell Samaje Perine to go block a Mike linebacker than tell Carson Steele to have to go block him and see what, how those encounters go. So I think you're going to get a good dose of Perine in these third down reps.
With Clyde Edwards-Helaire going on the NFI list, that does open up another roster spot on the 53-man roster spot for the Kansas City Chiefs. There's been a lot of shuffling in and out of that final spot there, right? Like we've seen a few different players in there. Nick Jones, Eric Scott, most recently before Samaje Perine was added to the 53-man roster. So now we sit here with an open roster spot. What do you think the Chiefs do with that, Matthew?
Oh man, I haven't given too much thought to what they are going to put in this roster spot. I think it seems right now we're probably going to get an activate, or somebody's going to be called up from the practice squad the next day or two, but they don't have to put them on the roster the way the practice squad rules work. They could probably just start elevating. They might even just roll, I guess, with this for this first week. I think if I'm looking through this roster, I think defensive line is probably where they are going to add help. They would add another body. I don't think when I'm looking through just like where the depth is on this team, you could add another defensive lineman who could be active for the game, could eat some snaps and like actually play a role. I think corner is another position that you see as like concerning, but it's going to be hard to get another cornerback dressed active and then get them on the field to have an impact. Whereas defensive line, you could probably pull somebody from the practice squad or off the street, get them suited up. And at the very least, they can go out there and give you 5 to 10 snaps if they need to on any given game.
One name that I am kind of paying attention to here that got signed to the practice squad recently after a wave of moves with Neil Farrell going off of the 53-man roster, as well as Matt Dickerson. Marlon Tuipulotu, previously with the Philadelphia Eagles, he's played a pretty good amount of football actually in his career. He's appeared in 28 games. He appeared in 14 games last year for the Philadelphia Eagles, 2 sacks, 22 tackles. I mean, this guy played a decent amount of snaps last year. So this is probably one of the most rosterable, one of the most productive practice squad players that this team currently has too. I wouldn't be stunned if he's a guy that winds up getting the call there.
No, and that makes a ton of sense because, like we were saying, like you could go suit that guy up and have him go out there this Thursday if you're the Chiefs, and like if somebody gets injured, in the next day or two or whatever at the defensive tackle spot, and you have to bring him up and throw him out there. At the defensive line is a position where you can put him out there, and yeah, he's not going to know everything, and there's going to be some ups and downs, but he can go out there and eat snaps. Even if no one gets hurt, you can pull him up to the 53-man roster. If he's an active player, there's going to be a situation where you might use that guy, and you can just throw him out there because you do rotate defensive linemen a lot. So he makes a ton of sense as like the first guy to look at. Maybe they're waiting to see if somebody else out there they have an idea might be getting cut or waived soon. It seems like most NFL teams are pretty set though, so I would expect it to be a practice squad addition. It's just a little interesting that they don't have them up already, and you don't technically have to since you're allowed to call up practice squad players.
Kind of found it a little interesting that the Chiefs didn't put Clyde on the NFI list when Samaje Perine got called up too. Like that was kind of a fascinating one there too, right? Like that. I mean,
listen, the Chiefs did some weird stuff with the roster things. Nothing bad. Like I don't think if you look at the cuts that were made and what the roster is now, you're not going to be like, oh, anything was bad. However, the way they went about it with so many guys being waived to the practice squad and then cut from the practice squad, then re-signed, and then like just they did a lot of musical chair work. And so, yes, I'm very surprised that Clyde took a while to go to the NFI list and not just doing it immediately, but also they've kind of just been playing weird with the roster this year. They've been cutting and waiving guys and signing guys a lot.
Yeah, maybe they were just kind of trying to feel this week out and see how things went with Clyde and just kind of figure that out a little bit. I don't know. Giving him time, is not a bad thing either. I don't know. It's interesting to me. Eric Scott, I don't believe has been picked up at this point either. So if the Chiefs want to bring Eric Scott back onto the 53-man roster, they could probably do that here today or tomorrow if they really wanted to as well, if they're really intent on getting him back there. So I don't know, something worth paying attention to. I found that to be a little bit interesting, but we'll see where this team goes with that. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNLab. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNLab. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNLab. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Thanks, everybody that is hanging out with us. We appreciate you. We love you. We are really excited for this game that's coming up here. It's going to be a great day a great week here on KC Sports Network. We're kicking it off here, but you're also going to have Only Weird Games. You're going to have that football show. We'll be back on Wednesday with Matt Hamilton to preview this game and then get you ready for Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you know what? Things are kind of starting to, the news cycle is starting to change towards, broad NFL perspectives that you get for the entirety of the offseason. And now it's starting to get into a week-to-week kind of rhythm, right? Some of getting some conversation about the Brazil game for the Eagles, but we're also getting some sound bites for this game here. Roquan Smith talking a little bit about how to stop Patrick Mahomes, how to try to slow him down a little bit. The question was, what's the key to slowing down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? And Roquan Smith says, first and foremost, just eliminating the run, making the guys one-dimensional just like any other game. And once you make a team one-dimensional, you know exactly what they'll do in a given situation. It gives us a chance as a defense to really pin our ears back and do exactly what we like to do. I don't know, man. What do you feel about that, Matthew?
Okay, let's start off the top. A linebacker says they want to stop the run and force a team to be one-dimensional so that they can better stop them. Yeah, okay, tracks, makes sense. That's every linebacker ever is probably going to say that, and that's their thoughts, and that's what they are trained through years of media training on what they're supposed to say, so you don't piss off anybody on the other team. That said, there's probably like one team out there where, like, if that's even an inkling of an idea that your team is going into the game with, that's even like an inkling of your mindset, you probably don't want to believe it, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. If I'm not mistaken, like since 2018, Patrick Mahomes has like doubled the EPA, like the cumulative EPA of any other quarterback that has played football over that time and expected pass situations, right? So like, yeah, when he has to throw, he's been a lot better than anybody else. I don't know if making the Chiefs one-dimensional accomplishes anything.
No, I don't think it does at all. I don't think there's really no like true rhyme or reason the same way. Like, I don't think the Chiefs are overly predictable in drop back situations either. Like, I don't think they're like, unless you're calling some of the jet sweeps in the screen game as part of the run game too. Like, the Chiefs do such a great job with their play structure and, the diversification and sometimes just getting playmakers plays out on the edge. Like, I don't understand why you're going to this as a concept. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. He's, like, good luck. I mean, please, by all means, I would love to watch Patrick Mahomes just drop the ball back, drop back and just throw a bajillion passes because he's going to do what he's done historically for the entirety of his career. I don't get it.
Yeah, it did. It makes absolutely it makes no sense if this is realistically what they want to do. I am trying really hard not to just like wet blanket this and say it's a linebacker just giving linebacker speak, because I think that's probably the majority of it. But at the same time, like, to even go up there and say that, that's at least got to be something remotely in your mind. You go back and look at how that conference championship game went last year, and the Ravens were more or less allowed, like, they made the Chiefs one-dimensional and it didn't work. And so maybe in their minds, that is the recipe for success. It wasn't about the Chiefs passing game was bad because their personnel didn't work, because they were out of sync, and because they were not coasting, but like they were not having to go out of their way to score points the way the Chiefs defense was playing. And so maybe in their mind, that is a little bit of what can work. They saw that work last year. They saw this like as a recipe to success based on that playoff game last year. So maybe that's something they really think. And like, whoo, by golly, please try that. Please try to take the run game away. Like, if they go out of their way to stop the Chiefs run game, the Chiefs are going to put up a lot of points on this team. If it's just them talking and they're just like, yeah, in the perfect world, we stop the run without having to dedicate extra stuff to it, we still play the pass and the run gets stopped, and like, so be it. That's fine. That's normal and what you would expect.
I think one thing is going to be really interesting with this game, and we don't have to get in that too much because we'll talk a lot about this next week. But I think if the Ravens want to rest on their laurels and rest on what they did last year, I think that's going to be a problem for them. And I think that's, if they want to treat this year's Chiefs like last year's Chiefs, I think that's going to be a problem for them too. You're looking at, a team that has bolstered their pass catchers, and obviously it'd be nice to have Hollywood Brown in this game, but they've added a legitimate vertical threat into this offense. So I don't think you can, drive and sit on, a lot of the short to intermediate stuff the same way that they were able to last year. I don't think you can sell out to stop the run the same way that you were able to this time last time. And yeah, great credit to them for holding Isaiah Pacheco to 24 carries for 68 yards. Good on you. Congratulations. Good job. But like to your point, like the play calling for the Chiefs was a game management type of scenario. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes was 30 of 39 for 241 yards still. He was still very efficient throwing the ball. So you weren't doing a great job of, stopping those 39 predictable opportunities that you had. Great. Congratulations. 90 completions. But yeah, I don't know. Good luck. Good luck if that's your game plan. I don't think you can rest on what you did last year. What you did last year is not going to matter this game, in my opinion.
No, it's not. And like I said, like we go a few years back and Telvin Smith for the Jags, started chirping and stuff like that before a Chiefs game. And the Chiefs kind of played them off the field. And Telvin Smith was like never the same as a football player on the football field ever again after that. I don't think Roquan Smith was doing the same thing. He wasn't like trash talking. I think it was just very normal, like football speak. And I really do think it was just the media training coming through. But I think it is noteworthy that like it's just the first thing that pops in their mind to stopping Mahomes isn't containing him, isn't keeping a top on the defense, isn't eliminating the big play, isn't keeping him in the pocket. It was stopping the run. And there's a good chance that, again, it's just the media training, but there's also a chance that they're sitting there thinking, well, last year they couldn't really throw the ball and get anywhere against us. They had 2 drives that mustered anything. After that, they did nothing. If we stop their run game again, that'll keep Patrick Mahomes in check just like we did last year. So there is a sliver of a chance that they actually do think something similar to that going in. Now, no team is going to look at Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and be like, we're selling out to stop the run. I don't care what they ever say. No team is going to do that. But if they are spending not even excess, but extra time, or if that is one of their key ideas going into this game to stop Isaiah Pacheco and Samaje Perine from running all over them, that's going to be tough. It really is. And so last week I did go on to the Baltimore film study with Ken McKissick, and we talked about it. And he did tell me that like the Ravens this year have been in practice and stuff. They really love their corners. They've been playing a lot of too high stuff this year. We're going to get deeper into this, later on this week when we got Matt Hamilton around and we really preview this game. But he kind of told me that they are playing a little bit more of a shell defense this year because they trust their corner so much. That doesn't lean into stopping the run idea very much, but we will have to see how that plays out in this actual game. Because if they start slipping down into single high like they did last year, that's going to be something.
Xavier Worthy season. I like it. Before we get out of here, we wanted to talk about a few props that we thought might be of interest to you guys. So we have some props sitting out there. Tucker, do you want to read some off for us, buddy?
Yeah, I'll read some props for you here because there's a lot of interesting ones, especially when you come and you look at just the statistic ones. You got a little bit of time to still get these in. Obviously, these prop bets will start obviously when the season starts, but first, I want to start with 2 of them that are really interesting to me, and these kind of go hand in hand. It's with the wide receiver room. Now, we're not going to see one of these guys on Thursday, but it's Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. They have the exact same over-under in yards, 750.5. The exact same total also for touchdowns as well. I believe that's at 4.5 as well. Thoughts on those 2 lines? Identical. Vegas thinks those 2 guys will have identical lines.
So I before the Hollywood injury, I think I was more in on the 750 than I am now. But like I think it's just a reminder of the volatility that we've seen with Hollywood Brown a little bit with some of his injury history over the course of his career. Xavier Worthy's the one I'm tempted by, though. I like the over on 750. I've been buying Xavier Worthy stock for the last couple months here, and I really do think that 750 is a very attainable number for him. I think there's a lot of explosive plays out there. I think his best ability is availability. I think he's going to get put in situations where he may not be as injury prone. I think, I think he's going to be doing a lot of the work in the deep areas of the field, which leads to a lot of explosive plays. And it keeps him from, some of the situations that might lead him to, to falling weird on a football, like in the middle of the field, like Hollywood Brown is. I really like Xavier Worthy over 750. And if I'm going to take over 750, I think I got to take over 4.5 touchdowns on Xavier Worthy too.
So, yeah, I'm more intrigued by the Xavier Worthy over than I am the Hollywood Brown over right now. And it's simply because I think had a feeling that Hollywood Brown was going to be very underrated for the Chiefs offense this year. I think he's going to have a very clear role that is this like short to intermediate zone beating weapon that kind of gets over the top of where Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce win, but still isn't necessarily a vertical threat. And I thought there was a good chance that the Chiefs could really weaponize him there. And I think that's still true. The problem comes in though, when he's already missing time, he has struggled to stay healthy for a whole year. I would really, if I were to bet a Hollywood Brown going over on 750 yards while he's injured, I would be really upset with myself if he gets injured again in week 8 and we just have no shot at ever getting it because it's like right there on the wall, right? The writing's on the wall for you. So I would be more tempted by Xavier Worthy. The touchdowns at 4.5, I think is a little bit trickier. Like, yeah, I see how the two go hand in hand, but I think there's also a chance that Worthy just catches a few really long passes. Maybe they don't always go for touchdowns and he doesn't get a ton of the red zone work. But I mean, I would take the Worthy over on yards for sure. I'd be tempted by the touchdowns because at some point, if you're beating guys deep, if you're getting over 750 yards on essentially all deep passes and some yak creation at the line of scrimmage, you're probably scoring a few touchdowns along the way.
That's kind of the line of thinking, right? I do think that this is, even if this is a souped up / better version of McCole Hardman's rookie year, like I think,
yeah.
I mean, McCole Hardman had over 500 yards receiving in his rookie year. So like, I think he was 538 his rookie year and 6 touchdowns, by the way, for
41 targets
for McCole Hardman. So yeah,
a lot of targets.
No, it was 26. Oh yeah, 41 targets. Sorry. Yes, you're right. My apologies. Yep. So yeah, I like Xavier Worthy overs there. A little bit more nervous about the Hollywoods. All right, Matt Tucker, what else you got for us?
Interesting. I would kind of want to go off of this Xavier Worthy tangent that you guys were on. Looked him up. He's at plus 220. No, 2,200. That's how you say that number. Plus 2,200 to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year right now behind Caleb Williams, Jalen Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo Nix, Malik Neighbors, Drake May. So
yeah,
all the quarterbacks
he ain't getting
and
that.
2 wide receivers. But he is could have some good value there if you want to try to sneak Offensive Rookie of the Year.
What's he?
I think your path to that would simply be Hollywood Brown stays really injured all year and Xavier Worthy just teams aren't ready for the vertical speed that he possesses and the Chiefs weaponize him in the right way. The problem is I think teams are aware on once they get threatened enough by Worthy downfield, they will go back to the Tyreek Hill defense where they just put this giant umbrella over the top. So like, I think it would be really hard for Worthy in the wide receiver that I think he's going to be as a rookie to have a Jamar Chase like production level his rookie year. I think it's going to be a hard avenue for him to get there because teams will have in their back pocket that defensive playbook from 2019 on how to defend it.
I think you're setting money on fire if you bet on Xavier Worthy to win Rookie of the Year, not because I don't think he's talented, but because Puka Nacua had 1,486 yards receiving last year and didn't win it. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that could go full CJ Stroud very easily, and I have a hard time feeling all of them are going to fall on their face. But like Puka had 100, he set NFL rookie records for receptions, yards, receptions in a game. 181 yards in a playoff game. He didn't win it. So I don't know, man. I don't know. He could if he has that year though, I'll be all right. I'll be good.
Let's keep on the receiving side of things. We're going to go to Travis Kelce. Look, he has one season where he doesn't have 1,000 yards, and now Vegas thinks he's not going to get there again. They set the over-under at 900.5, a full 100 yards under the 1,000-yard mark. He was very close last year to reaching. Are you taking the over or under on Travis Kelce receiving yards?
I'm taking the over because, knock on wood, I don't think Travis Kelce's going to have an injury that slows down / hampers his the start of the season. Like, he just started really slow. He struggled to kind of be back to his full self, but you kind of saw him coming along late as the season went on. They simplified. They kind of used him and involved him a lot more. I think he's going to go and have a fantastic season this year. Like, I think people are going to think because of how he started last year, maybe there's a perception about him. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. Give me the over on 900 yards.
I am going to take the under for Travis Kelce and 900.5 yards because I think the Chiefs are going to try to save him as much as possible for the playoffs. I think you're going to see him play a lot less first downs. You're going to see his overall snap percentage decrease. We've been saying this for a while, and it hasn't really happened. But if you look at last year and how they utilized him once he got back, they really weren't feeding Travis Kelce except for in the games they deemed big leading up to the playoffs. And I think that will be the goal again this year. I think they will have other guys that they kind of utilize as the workhorse. And I don't think they wanted to feed him a ton last year. I just think they had nobody else that could really play football at the wide receiver position or a receiver position, and they had to. So I think I might lean under here. And this led me to I think my biggest hot take this year, I think it's going to be the first time since I think it's 2015 that Travis Kelce does not lead the Chiefs in receptions, receiving yards, or receiving touchdowns. I think there's a good chance that Rashee Rice takes all of those, but if not, maybe a Xavier Worthy does have a great year and sneaks and gets the yards or something. Just I would be a little worried that the team isn't going to feature Travis Kelce enough when they have all these other options that are a little bit younger until the playoffs come around.
Sheesh. I mean, I see the path for it. Don't get me wrong. So
you're going to create a bunch of space, and then you're going to tell somebody to go get 8 targets over the middle of the field. Do you want that to be Travis Kelce? I mean, it's going to work if it's Travis Kelce, but do you want it to be him? Or would you rather give 6 of those targets to Rashee Rice throughout the entire season and let him get hit and let him go create after the catch because he's explosive?
My only pushback on that would be
sure
that would involve Patrick Mahomes conscientiously.
There you go.
Thanks. Pushing the ball somewhere other than Travis Kelce. And I just have a hard time believing that Travis wants that, Patrick wants that, and Andy's going to let that happen. And so it's going to require Travis Kelce's snap count to go down tremendously, I think, to protect him from that. So that's I think it simply boils down to that for me personally, because I think that chemistry with Patrick and Travis, and I just don't see anybody saying, let's try to not throw you the ball, buddy.
Right. And I don't think it's necessarily saying not throw him the ball, but I also think that theoretically, if we're saying if we're both going over on 750 yards for Xavier Worthy, and we're saying that he has the potential to do more, and Hollywood Brown, when healthy, is flirting with a pace to do that, that's going to be a lot of space created. It's not going to be ugly. Patrick Mahomes isn't going to have to find Travis Kelce on a broken play 13 times a game. Travis Kelce isn't going to have to ad lib, double-digit routes to get open because other guys aren't able to get open because of all this extra space. So I just wonder if the offense can run a little bit more on time and a little bit more structured, you won't have the need to always go to Kelce. I think he'll still be huge on third downs. I didn't say anything about not leading the team on those stats on third downs. But first and second down, I could see a snap count drop. And I think if those outside wide receivers can really open up more space, I don't know. I just have a feeling we're in for a big Rashee Rice usage and a lot of volume and stuff. And the way he and Mahomes were on the same page in that preseason game, and it sounds like they're kind of clicking a little bit. I just feel a little hesitant about the Travis Kelce overs.
What else do you got for us, Tuck?
Leading into that, Patrick Mahomes didn't have the statistically best year last year. Vegas is kind of adjusting to that. They have Mahomes at 4,350.5 yards on the over/under. Again, you've taken the over on both Xavier Worthy and Kelce. We're going to get pretty darn close in terms of yards just with those two. What are your thoughts on this one?
Give me the over. Yeah, I think this is a scorched earth offense this year for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think this is an uber efficient. I think this is explosive. I think they get back to the vertical passing game. I think it's back, and I think that opens everything else for everybody else up. I think teams are going to be playing scared to not give up the explosives. They're still going to give up the explosives, but they're going to have to play off and soft. They're going to give up a lot of yards every single game and hope that they can force the Chiefs to kick field goals rather than touchdowns. And so I think there's a lot of yards being put up by Patrick Mahomes and a lot of yards being put up by this offense.
I think this is an incredibly easy over. I don't really see a path in which, again, knocking on wood, that Patrick Mahomes doesn't get hurt and doesn't hit this number. There's been twice in his career that he hasn't gone over. Last year, when the offense was an absolute shambles, and we're still, 200 yards away from making it over this. And then back in 2019, where he missed 2 games, but he was actually pacing to, again, go over that amount of number. And that would have been only 16 games instead of 17. So, yeah, I think that I think that this is one of the easiest overs. I think the offense is going to be substantially better than it was last year, if not one of the better offenses under Patrick Mahomes. And yards is something that I don't foresee them getting by bunches on the ground. We're going to do, I think, maybe do touchdowns here in a second. And like, you could spin an argument that they're better at running the ball in the red zone. So maybe that steals some touchdowns because Mahomes does have a billion 1-yard touchdown passes. But yardage, you got to get there somehow. And I mean, Patrick Mahomes at 44,300 and a half. No, that's easy money.
Man, nuclear offense and under on Travis Kelce receiving yards is just what world are we in?
Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, buddy.
Okay.
Fun fact.
It's watching P. Ryan.
Patrick Mahomes has hit this over on this line 4 out of 6 years. So he's been a starting quarterback.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
It's probably the lowest it's been since his rookie year, right? I mean, this is going to be the lowest it's been since, I guess, 2018. Like any other.
It is fairly low. And I do think that they kind of, they as in Vegas had kind of over adjusted for this. Now getting back to Mahomes touchdowns, 34.5 is that line. Last year, he had 27 touchdown passes. He had 41 in 2022, 37 in 2021, 38 in 2020, 2019, he had 26. And in 2018, he obviously had 50. Thoughts on Patrick Mahomes passing touchdowns, 34.5.
Over.
0? Oh.
Over. Taking the over, man. I'm
just hammering all the overs.
I think
just
this
wait.
is.
I got some props for him.
It's gonna be. Oh no! Did you make
I got an extra prop.
I got my own in my head. Just random numbers. This is the best one.
He does this. He does this sometimes. Like, no joke. He actually does this. It's awful. They're the worst lines. I don't know, man. I think we're on the verge, especially when Hollywood Brown's back, for a special offense that's never seen the kind of depth of skill players that this team has had. So when they've got the 11 personnel with Kelce, Rice, Brown, Worthy, Pacheco, that's a terrifying group. There's no weakness there, and I'm looking forward to that. So I think there's going to be a lot of points scored for this team. So yeah, give me the over, man.
Yeah, and this, like I said, you could speak up a scenario in which this offense is great. Mahomes easily goes over 4,300 yards, and he still only hits 30 touchdowns, 32 touchdowns, or whatever, because the running game gets going in the red zone. This offensive line all of a sudden gets a lot of push. We say a year back, like I said, in 2019, he missed some games, but he only finished with 26 touchdowns. But the offense wasn't bad in 2019 by any stretch. It's just they were more efficient getting into the end zone on the ground. So you could spin it to where the offense is still great and you go under this numbers. This one isn't a slam dunk lock like I think the yardage is, but still, I feel like 34.5 isn't high enough for how good I think the offense is going to be. It's not high enough, giving respect enough to Mahomes for what he has done anytime the offense has been functional around him. I'm taking the over there as well.
All right, what you got, Tuck?
Well, a little fun fact here. I was just looking at the Pro Football Reference page for Patrick Mahomes. The year he threw in 2018, where he had 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, he did not lead the league in passing. Do you know who did?
2018.
He had 5,097 yards. It's not Drew Brees, and he did not lead the league in passing.
It's not Jared Goff, is it?
It's not Jared Goff.
Because he did go nuclear that year.
We're bad at this.
It is a mix of eras. Because 2018 is kind of like the.
Oh, Aaron.
No, it was not.
I
legitimately I didn't know this one. So I saw this and I was like, wow.
I didn't either. So I looked it up because I had the page already pulled up or close enough to it that I had to look it up at this point. So we didn't just keep guessing over and over again. Good luck, y'all. Good luck.
I'll give you the answer.
Blake Bortles.
No.
Close.
It's Ben Roethlisberger.
It was the ghost of Paul Bunyan.
He did. Maddie, do you have the number in front of you? It was close to 5,200.
Yeah.
It wasn't. He just terrible the next year.
He threw over 600 attempts too. It was 650 maybe.
700.
Yeah, it was
75 pass attempts.
That's when they just didn't have a run game. They just played empty and they just let that big dude lumber around there in the back. He looked like you taking a 3-step drop, Tuck.
What's that supposed to mean?
I've
better than
I've
Ben
se-
Roethlisberger then.
No, we
I've
didn't-
seen you take a
Matt
3-step
Ryan was
drop.
back.
That's all. I've seen you do it. Like just
I mean, they had almost 1,000-yard rusher. James
Yeah.
Conner had 970 yards. Apparently, that offense was just this elite, and like nobody talked about it.
golly.
I felt
Okay.
kind of gross knowing that fact that I needed to share it with you guys.
That is
Okay.
that is disgusting.
Even better, their third leading receiver is Vance McDonald.
No.
That's
But
such a-
Juju
that's a Mike
Smith-Schuster led the team with 1,400 receiving yards, and Antonio Brown had 1,300.
But he had no rings until he came to Kansas City. Anyways, what else you got for us? You got any Bailey Zappi props?
I just saw this one pop up. DJ Ungungalele minus 800,000 to join the bloodline.
Oh, I mean, he's got a career in something other than sports coming.
DJ,
So-
you gotta be kidding me. You know, if you know what
Yeah.
I
My
mean.
turn?
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
yeah.
It's your
Okay,
turn,
fine, Maddie.
Trent McDuffie over under 3.5 forced fumbles.
Under. He gets 3.
Coward had 5 last year. That was a lot.
Yeah. I think it's 3. I said what I said.
You know, when you expand, you give like Tucker these big, long, elaborate answers, and you just give me that.
I don't trust your lines at all. I don't trust the integrity of the sport.
I go in for
What do you
15. I
mean?
think he's got 15 in him this year.
Okay. Felix and Udike Uzama.
Under.
2.5 snaps. Under. Well, I know. I was going to go 2.5 sacks, which would be 2 more than he had as a rookie.
I think it's a
Essentially, I'm asking to
push.
see show growth.
2.5. He's getting 2.5. It's a push.
So 2.25. What about 2.25? So you'd say over.
2.5.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah. What else you got, Maddie? What other figments of your imagination have you made up? Would hold up in a sports book?
Trent McDuffie or Justin Reed lead the team in tackles.
To lead the team in tackles, or who has more tackles?
No. To lead the team in tackles.
He's
Okay.
saying, will you take Trent McDuffie or Justin?
No.
I meant to say Justin Watson. but
No,
that
neither
wasn't
will
right.
lead the team in tackles.
Neither.
It'll
Okay,
be-
so they won't
it'll be
do what
Nick
they did
Bol-
last year.
It'll be Nick Bolton.
Taking the field.
That's fair. I'm just asking the questions. Can't calm down.
You didn't give a line for it. It's just like
Well, yeah.
I just want to know if you're going to take those two or the field. I understood what Matt
Yeah,
was
like
asking.
these are just questions now, right? I'm just trying to keep you here for an hour. That's all I'm really trying to do at this point.
we're
in
not.
time.
That's not
Justin
happening.
Watson over under 275.5 yards.
Under.
Over.
He's on. It's an under. It's a hard under. Couldn't be a harder under.
Yards off of corner routes, 100.5.
Noah Gray over under 2.5 touchdowns.
Great line. That's actually the best line you've made today.
I mean, all my
Congrats
lines
on
have been
that.
Perfect.
That line might hold up in a sports book. Everything else is just ridiculous.
I feel like Felix's sack total is pretty spot on.
That's pretty good too. Over 3. It's a great line.
Okay.
Can I ask
Great
you
line.
guys some
Yeah.
game props too while we're here?
Oh, absolutely.
As long as they're not super into the game, because we do have to do an entire game preview episode
No.
here.
No, they're not.
Okay. Yeah, throw them at us.
Yeah, I started to talk and I realized I didn't have any.
Jawan Taylor over or under 12.5 penalties.
On the season,
No, in one game.
under. It's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year for Jawan Taylor.
Ooh, we'll have this as a little teaser. This can be a little appetizer for people listening here to prime them up for Wednesday's episode. Over under passing. Over under passing yards for Patrick Mahomes is at 263 and a half.
What is happening?
Good old appetizers. Over, because I'm not a coward. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes.
What is happening?
Around the yard. Over.
What is happening?
Don't worry about it, champ.
That's going to do it for the Casey Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Nobody tell Kit what happened ever, please.
What happened?